Today, Wargaming released a brand new contract within World of Tanks console, and today I want to cover what the most overpowered vehicle used to look like within the game. This is, of course, the Tier 7 tank destroyer, the E25. This is a vehicle that is super powerful in the right kind of hands with the right kind of setup, and I guess we can take a quick look as to how to set up the tank as well as some of the benefits, why you're going to want to actually complete this as part of the contracts that you can sign. Obviously at the moment we've got the Orthrus as another tier 8 premium tank destroyer that you can actually pick up, but the E25 should be somewhat easier than the Orthrus contract to actually complete, and the vehicle itself is very good. Now obviously you have to earn a ton of XP to be able to complete this, probably in the region of about 600,000 XP to be able to actually unlock this contract fully, so it's going to take a bit of time and you only have 41 days to be able to actually complete that. But it's really worth the wait. And of course, this tank is a super fast, super minuscule, and super well concealed vehicle within the game. And the main thing about this tank is the fact that it has ridiculous DPM and it has the most ridiculous camo. As you can see, we have 471 meters of view range and 173 meters of still concealment, which allows you to become an absolute monster when it comes to camo and concealment and moving around the map. Now there's a few things that you need to do with this vehicle to really play it in the true E25 style, which is run it with, of course, advanced optics to boost our view range, run it with advanced concealment, which is going to reduce how often we get detected because it's going to reduce your still concealment, and then you've also got improved ventilation, which is going to boost up your crew performance. Now you could drop this out for advanced loader, it's really down to you. I'm running it in a full camo build, so anything that we can do to the crew performance is going to boost up our camo and our concealment slightly, nothing major, but it also is going to help out with some of the crew skills as well. Things like being tracked and that sort of thing, because the E25, if it does get tracked, is a bit of a pain, but also, you do have to fire a lot of gold with this tank. It is a gold spamming vehicle because at tier 7 with only 150 millimeters of penetration, you're going to really suffer when you do come in to those top tier games that you can play. But one even better thing about the E25 is those top tier games, what you're coming up against are only going to be tier 8s. So that really does help out with this tank. It is a preferential tank, so you don't have to come up against tier 9 vehicles with this one. Unless, of course, you're platooning with other tier 7 tanks that do not get preferential matchmaking. But the main thing is, yes, running the equipment setup like this. And then on our commander, we are running a full camo setup. So silent driving, this is a big factor for the E25 because it has such good mobility. You could see we had 65 kilometers an hour top speed with this tank. So it's really nimble, really quick. And so running silent driving to allow you to move without affecting your camo factor is also really nice. So essentially we're decreasing the effect of moving, and so we're not going to get spotted as easily when we are moving because it does bloom out how like far you'll get detected with the tank. Camo expertise boosts your camo. Muffled shot, going to reduce how often we're getting detected when we're actually firing from a bush or whatever, or just generally anywhere on the map. But it's really nice. It reduces kind of the bloom from firing. And then green thumb allows us to sit in foliage, so that's an additional boost to our camo factor if we are inside of a bush. Situational awareness for more view range. We're running with Sixth Sense, obviously, steady aim for accuracy, and rapid loading for increased DPM, and then Born Leader to just improve all of those by 10%. So instead of getting 55% decrease to the effect of driving on your vehicle's camo factor, we will in fact have 60.5% because it's 10% boosted of the 55%, so that will go to 60.5. Similarly, our camo expertise will not give us 10%, but in fact 11%, because 10% of 10% is 1%, and so we'll get 11% increase to our vehicle's camo factor. as well as also the crew performance. So this also boosts things like repairing your tracks and that sort of thing. So really, really nice, giving this tank that total DPM that we've currently got of 3,400 without actually using advanced loader. So obviously if you drop out vents, you can get that even higher, but we're not going to do that in this one. I much prefer running the full camo, full concealment build as much as possible, so we can sneak around in this thing. So that is the E25 in terms of statistics, but of course there's a lot we need to cover with regards to some of the other factors about the tank. So I guess we can jump on over into the gameplay. That's probably the portion you're wanting to see, but it really is a ton of fun. Is it the most overpowered anymore? Probably not, but the camo that this thing has is really, really fun, and the ways you can use this tank is genuinely actually fun within the game. So anything that promotes fun, I do enjoy. So let's jump on over. Let's see what this thing can do. Starting off then on Hellfire Pass. This is the first one that we do have for you guys today. And Hellfire Pass is a map that's actually quite well suited to the E25, mainly because you can get into quite a few longer range engagements where you can really use that spotting and camouflage to your advantage, which is the biggest thing about the whole E25 tank. You know, you want to be further away, but not too far that you can't consistently get shots. And so what we first do is park up over on the southern side of the map so we can get a few shots, hopefully, into people who are going to cross into the E5 location, or, you know, in that sort of range, that are going to be fighting with our heavy tanks, as well as potentially taking out anyone that is going to be pushing up to our right as well. So it gives plenty of shots, and because our camo and detectability is so good, we can really stay quite well hidden in this and essentially just plow rounds into people at long ranges. It genuinely feels like you are farming, and we can manage to hit this AMD right there, taking him out of the game. A little bit of damage there, 400. Unfortunately not able to hit the M4Y, I believe, or M3Y, and then the Emil 1951. Both are in not the best of situations for us to pen, because obviously the further away they are, you do get penetration drop off on mortar tanks, so that can affect the APCR rounds, I do believe, but at the same time, you know, we don't have the best pen anyway, so it can be a bit of a pain, but he's managed to prop himself up. We found a little tiny area where we could actually get a few shots into the M3Y there. And of course this Emil is in no way, shape or form able to be hit, but we keep popping a couple of rounds into the M3 here. The issue with this tank, obviously, is if you can't consistently put out the rounds, you are going to find yourself in situations where you don't get enough damage. And so you've really got to use the mobility to move around the map, get to where you think is going to be the best, and then kind of go from there. Obviously you can see there the M3Y did actually expose his turret, but we weren't looking. Typical World of Tanks, you know, you turn away for a second and then someone makes a silly play. But yeah, we're not able to hit that. It was a very slim shot either way. But what sort of thing do you have to do when these sorts of situations arise? Is it YOLO into the enemy team? Is it stay back? Is it, you know, wait until someone comes out? Well, of course, YOLOing into the enemy team, very bad idea. In the E25, it has absolutely no armor. Can be penned by a lot of HE rounds if they load them. And so definitely going all in against people, not a good idea with the E25. But what you can do is maintain a bit of distance and just basically wait to see people push forward. This is really the biggest thing, at least for me, when it comes to the game, is just waiting for people to make mistakes and then making sure that you're in positions where you can easily capitalize on people making mistakes. That's literally how the top players usually do it, is making sure that they're in a position that's going to give us or going to give you the best chance of being able to, you know, find someone who's going to make a mistake. You can see here that there is a Tiger up there, also a T25. So what do? Rather than just kind of hoping hoping that they'll come out to me. I'm going to try and get an angle, open up the opportunity for us to get a shot. And there we go. We find a tiger. We've got his weak point there. I was thinking we'll probably only get one into him, but in fact he's being a bit of a bot and deciding that he's going to go forward after we've been pummeling him. And there you go, we got another shot. We could have probably got a second one or a last one in there, but I was a bit too slow. You know, reaction times, having not played the game for a little bit, not the best. But either way, going for some blind fires on the Vanguard. Doesn't seem like we can spot him very easily because, you know, we both probably got very good view range. But we can go for a shot on the AMX there, but luckily we hit the Brumbar. The Brumbar is probably still there, so we might as well put a couple in just to see, and then we go for a third one. Unfortunately for me, we do get spotted there, which must be the Vanguard who's actually pushed up. And unfortunately the T25/2 does come in, but we're going to back it all the way up. Hopefully we can get away. You can see the shells coming in from somewhere up on top of this ridgeline here, so put out a couple of blind fires, but you don't want to continuously blind fire with the E25 because it has 60 rounds. You might think that's a lot, but when you're only dealing 100 damage every single shot, those rounds disappear very, very quickly. And when you're reloading in like 1 and a bit seconds, it's very quick to start to lose those rounds and end up on no ammunition left. So that's not what you want when you're playing in a game like this. So now, where do we go from here? Well, the whole thing about this tank is making sure that you do find yourself opportunities, and the opportunities over here seem to be drying up pretty quickly. But I do see that there's a heavy tank and a tank destroyer over on the left, but I'm a bit hesitant to push up, mainly because I was thinking the Brumbar might come out or whatever, or one of these light tanks would just YOLO, but it doesn't seem like they actually are. So we'll just push up to the ridgeline where this STRV-S1 is, and then we'll kind of go around from there, is what I was thinking in this game. Now, this could have been the play or the misplay, but at the same time, I'm hoping we can find this Tiger or the Hammer or whatever the heavy tank is that's over here out in the side or out in the open, and hopefully get a shot onto him. Now, you can see how small the detection range of this tank actually is. It's very, very small. I mean, we only just got detected there from this Tiger 1 there, and that's just because we were moving. If we were stationary, we probably wouldn't have got detected there, which is kind of crazy how close you can be to people without actually getting detected. Now, in this game, what's the kind of situation? Well, it isn't a clear-cut victory. I mean, yes, we do have more hit points by a slight amount, but it's not major, and also the tanks are pretty much the exact same, 8 to 7, so, you know, we're not really winning in that department. Now, the cap circle is being capped, but I'm pretty sure that it's only going to be 1 tank, maybe 2, and we can find that out later on. I mean, obviously 1 is inside of the cap circle, you can see it. But our tank is actually pushing back there. He's on quite a lot of health. We did check it before we kind of went there. And now I want to try and get rid of this Vanguard out of the game. If we can do that, that would be perfect. But we don't want to kind of push forward too far because, of course, there could be a tank destroyer waiting for me to do that. And then we could get absolutely pummeled. So instead, we're going to use this bush in front of us to get a bit of kind of camo. And so we've got the Brumbar there, we've got the AMX 1375, both behind the rock. Not ideal. Are we going to actually push in here? I'm thinking about it, but at the same time, it's a bit risky to do that. We've got 2 guys in the cap circle who have actually gone around the other way. I saw that the AMX was actually, or the EOC was actually pushing backwards, and we are about to just bottle all of the shots that we're actually taking here. Not getting any help from the RNG, but hopefully we can land this one, and there he goes. That's him out of the game. Now, rather than pushing directly forward, the Brumbar could be pre-aiming me, who can pen me and take me out straight away. So we wait until we get undetected. We're going to use, kind of get as close to this rock as possible, use this little tree because it will count as camouflage. And we put in a blind fire there just to see if he is actually there. Maybe that like a tiny pixel of him is actually poking out. But you can see they both get spotted right behind the rock. At this point I was thinking, since they got detected on the other side, since there's a lot of tanks on the other side, that they may push backwards to avoid getting hit, and then I could capitalize on that one. But instead, they seem to just stay behind the rock. I mean, it is the actual best play that they can make. But at the same time, we can push in and try and get that shot at the final one of the game on the AMX 1375, taking him out for a whopping 2 damage and 2,723 damage in total. Not coming top in the game. Someone actually absolutely blitzed that game. But either way, a pretty good showcase of what this tank can do in a game where you feel like there wasn't a huge amount of opportunities. No one really making some major misplays where you can perma-track them and just take all of their health. But either way, we'll jump into the next one. Now, Raseiniai is another fantastic map for the E25 because there's just so many bushes. There's so many places that you can actually sneak up on people, and there's so many places you can use your camo really effectively, and we're going to see exactly that. A bit more of a camo style gameplay. Even at incredibly close ranges, you'll still see how good the camo of this tank is. Unfortunately, the E25 can't do a handbrake turn, so I did have to hit the SP1C there, unfortunately. But yeah, either way, we can move over. And by no handbrake, I mean that if you handbrake, it just stops in a straight line. It doesn't like stop one track and you can turn with the handbrake. It doesn't work like that. It's basically both tracks stop dead in the center, so you just end up skidding forward. So you can't like kind of do a handbrake turn or anything like that in this tank. But what we can do is come to the central location. This is sometimes a really good position for early game damage, and we'll see if that is the case in this game. Now, the main thing about this is you do need your teammates to spot the people who are going to be pushing in the B5, B6, B7, A5, 6, 7 line. So going over on the northern side of the map, you can catch them out as they do cross and get quite a few shots. Especially if we go for those tracking shots with the E25, you can basically retrack opponents so quickly that you can just farm them of all of their hit points. They're going to burn a repair kit. You're going to track them basically instantly afterwards if you are aiming at the track. And yeah, unfortunately for us, doesn't look like there's a huge amount of people that are going to be pushing the northern side, which does mean that they're going to be pushing the center of the map. Now, normally I wouldn't push down here because, you know, if you have any terrible amount of camo or just not the most OP camo in the game, you're going to get spotted. You're going to get hit potentially from people in a 4 who camp up on top of the hill. We spot ourselves an IS-3. I was thinking, I wonder if he's going to back up and give us a shot. It's very unlikely. I mean, he's, you know, in the position where he can try and get some shots on our teammates. So, yeah, not looking too hopeful here, and probably not going to be much that we can do. But the issue with the E25, and probably the biggest thing you'll find, is finding those opportunities. Because the tank isn't the most flexible. Yes, it has the speed. Yes, it can move all over. Yes, it has amazing camo. But obviously it doesn't get a turret, and it has absolutely no armor with some pretty diabolical amounts of health. Not like the worst in the game at tier 7, but, you know, it's not great. I mean, 830 means 2 shot from a tier 8 basically with 400 alpha, and if you're coming up against some of the Soviet heavies, it's a definite 2 shot even if they low roll. But what we can do here is sneak up on this IS-2. You see that we didn't even get spotted here. Now, I was trying to go for a shot on the tracks there of the IS-2 too, but unfortunately we didn't manage to actually get that shot. Because he kept backing up behind one of the wrecks of his teammate or our teammate or whatever. And then he decides to push forward. Now, we could have gone for a tracking shot there. That's the tracking shot that we actually want, and unfortunately it didn't actually track. Now, the higher caliber of a main armament that you do have on this game, the more chance that you're going to have to actually track. Obviously, E25 with 100 damage, probably not going to have the most module damage that you can expect out of any tank in the game, and therefore, you know, we're not going to track people that reliably. At this point, I'm kind of hoping that we can get a shot on the IS-3. He is there, but unfortunately the penetration of 190 is just not quite enough to actually hit the upper plate. I go for a tracking shot. Maybe one of our teammates can get him, but I mean, it's not looking too hopeful here. Even if we hit the unangled top plate of the IS-3, it just wasn't penning, so I'm not going to waste any more of our time. Pretty much the entire rest of the enemy team is behind me, so let's push forward. Let's get back into a more longer range engagement where I can use the view range of the tank. And you might think, he's only on 500 damage, that's pretty bad. And yes, 5 minutes into the game, it is pretty bad. That's 5 shots. We've wasted 10 shots. in total, so we've only hit 50% that have actually penned. But the thing with the E25 is because it has such good DPM, if you stay alive to the end of the game, even if you only manage to find one tank that is oblivious out in the open and you can use your camo against it, you can farm every single last drop of its hit points and it's probably not even going to spot you. Now we do find a Tiger 2 here, we go for 2 shots, it actually hits someone else there, and we actually take out the M46 Korean pattern since we did get a shot that didn't actually hit the Tiger there, so we might as well get the damage. The T29 pushes down against our teammate who we can't help here, so I'm just hoping that our teammate can take the T29 out. I can't really push around. I need to support the team that are actually getting bombarded by about 5 enemies. So whilst I could YOLO over to the T29, it's going to cost the team any support from this side, and the more angles you can get on a person, the better you're going to be in terms of a team. But I do see if I can actually get a shot on the T29 here. I recognise the Patriot is low on health, and I was thinking if he pushed back a little bit more, I could have got a shot on the T29, but at the moment, no cover. One thing to note about World of Tanks, if you can give your team the opportunity to at least hit someone, so if you can back up and someone's like, you know, face hugging you, and if you just back up so that your team have a chance to actually hit, that's obviously one way to hopefully survive longer. You know, 90% of the time they're probably not even going to realise that someone is directly face hugging you and they could get free shots. But just in case, you know, it is worth actually doing if they do have a brain in terms of your team. Now, go for a shot on the Tiger 2 here, but unfortunately at this sort of range, it's a bit difficult to actually reliably hit. The Paladin did finish off our teammate in the Patriot, as I was expecting. But hopefully we can actually find this Paladin out somewhere, and hopefully we can get the view range to actually spot him through all of this foliage and all of this trees, which do count as camo, which is obviously a big problem if you are in a heavy tank and you're having to deal with something like an E25. And now Paladin does push forward. I'm trying to get a tracking shot and he actually goes undetected here. Now I have no idea if we actually tracked him with that shot. It was a critical, so no idea really. But I was surprised that we couldn't actually spot him here, because Paladin, it's not got the best view range in the world. And of course, you know, we're in a tank with basically way over max view range in the game. So yeah, it was a bit surprising, but we do spot him here. And we're going for this tracking shot on him. And you can see there, we do hit that tracking shot. We go for another shot here. He's looking at me. He may get a shot onto us. He does blind, which is fine. And we don't actually manage to hit that second one. And I think we actually bounced another shell. So I back off of the hill, trying to give a potential that, you know, maybe he goes for a second blind fire. I don't want to take a second blind hit here. So that's something to kind of note. I'm checking the team to see whether or not the Paladin disappeared, because I was surprised he went undetected again. But we get another shot into the Paladin there, leaving him on a definite 2-shot, regardless of if we fully low roll both of those shells. There's 3 tanks left in the game. 2 of them are directly in front of me, so the Paladin and it's a medium, I believe. But we're waiting now. I'm not going to go for the shot. I don't want to spook him. I don't want him going backwards where we can't hit him. And so I'm just going to let him make the misplay. And that is exactly what he does. He goes side on, exposing all of his side armor. Now he does go hold down here, but he has a cupola on the top of his tank. So we just hit that one, take him out the game. And you can see here we're up to 700 assistance as well with the tank. So by no means is this like a fantastic game in terms of how much damage you can do and how much assistance you can do, but it does showcase what the tank can do. And if you have these sorts of games where maybe you have only done 500 damage and it's nearing the end, you can really bring them back if you just reposition. Repositioning in World of Tanks console is probably one of the biggest things that you could possibly do to improve as a player, because even if you reposition it doesn't work out, you'll know that for next time. You'll learn from that for the next time that you do come into that situation. You can try and find a different route that is going to give you a better chance at maybe surviving or getting more damage, and you'll kind of have that delayed retreat where you can deal damage as you retreat and that sort of stuff. It's really great for those losing games. And if you're going for marks of excellence, it's pretty much mandatory that you get good at that to be able to have those games. Now, the E25, we do land one on the SU-14 too, and rather than kind of, you know, I guess staying backwards and just shooting, we actually YOLO this guy because he does not have the gun depression to actually hit us. So if we just get right up next to him, there's nothing he can do. He can't actually hit us. It's not possible. So that's exactly why we went YOLOing in, get there before he actually can find the depression when we were available to hit. So that is that game. We had a pretty decent set of games that we played in the E25. There are some games where it just doesn't go your way, or you get a town map and the E25 isn't particularly too suited to that. But if you do find yourself on a town map, you basically just want to go for tracking shots and playing as a purely supporting role within those games. But hopefully that gave you an indication. Should you actually do the contract over something like an Orpheus or something else, the big top that's currently in there? Absolutely, the E25 is a ton of fun, and if you get in a 3-man platoon of E25s and you find like an opponent out in the open, you will pepper that thing to holy hell, and it will be removed within a very, 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 very short time. So it is a ton of fun if you platoon, or if you play solo, it's just a ton of fun. So yes, absolutely worth getting your hands on, and it doesn't come up that often as a free reward. So definitely get yourself the E25 if you have time or play enough, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.